So starting with section 2, we're going to be naming again. So we named ionic last chapter, which I thought went fairly well. Now we're going to name molecular compounds. So this table is in your book. It's in your notes. I will actually make a copy of this, so you'll get to use this table on your test. So you'll have access to this for your test. For practice in class, you can either use your notes or the page in your book. So when we name molecular compounds, numbers are going to matter. So like MgCl2 was magnesium chloride. We didn't care about the 2 that went with chlorine. We didn't care about how many calcium or whatever. When we're looking at molecular compounds, the numbers are going to matter, which makes naming them very easy. So N2O, I have 2 nitrogen and I have 1 oxygen. So whatever, the first element is always going to be named first, the second one is always going to be named second. So N is the symbol for nitrogen. O is still oxide, because it's at the end. It's not oxygen, it's oxide. So if I have 2 nitrogen atoms, what is the prefix for 2? Di. So this would be dinitrogen. How many oxygen do I have? 1. What's the prefix for oxygen? Mono. So it would be monoxide. And if you put an extra O somewhere or don't quite spell the second name quite right, I won't count it wrong. But dinitrogen, monoxide, I have 2 nitrogen, I have 1 oxygen. So what you'll do is you'll start looking at the front of your formulas. Nitrogen is a non-metal. If the formula starts with a non-metal, then I'm going to need to use my prefix table. If it starts with a metal, if it starts with calcium, I'm just going to name it and not worry about the numbers at all. So when we're doing covalent, we're going to use prefixes to tell us how many there are. Because, as an example, which this table you can do online, I'm not going to do in class anyway, but I have CO and CO2, both very common covalent molecules. If I name them the same way we did ionic, I'd have carbon oxide, carbon oxide. They'd have the same name. They are not the same thing. This is what? Carbon monoxide. This is carbon dioxide. And notice, if the first one in the first name, you don't have to use mono. You just leave it as carbon. So carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, they are different things. And this table is on your website, and I will have you do that on your own. I'm not going to fill it in for you. So one more example. I'm not going to say anything. P2O5 is a drying agent. It's used to dehydrate stuff. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I have 2. What's the prefix for 2? Di. What is P? So I have diphosphorus and pentaoxide. So diphosphorus pentaoxide, it may be written as pentoxide, but either way, 2 phosphorus, 5 oxygen. And there you go. So a lot of compounds were discovered and given common names. So the most common one is water. What is the symbol for water, or formula? H2O. So scientifically, What is the correct scientific name for water?
Dihydrogen.
Dihydrogen monoxide. Funny story, years ago for a science fair project, it was one of the surrounding towns, some kids they made up like a fake petition, and they took it around to adults, having adults sign a petition to ban dihydrogen monoxide because too much of it would kill plants. If people took in too much of it, you could die. You know, they made up things that actually happen with water. And tons of adults signed a petition to ban water in the county because they did not know what dihydrogen monoxide was. It was clever. It was cute. So there's scientific names, and then there's some. So water, H2O, we use that a lot. Ammonia, NH3, we'll talk about that one a lot. The other two we won't use as much. And I'm going to stop here and practice a little bit.